Hi everyone, welcome back. Now Inno3D has recently introduced this new innovation, which I find very nice because as a person who builds a lot of PCs, I find the cable when it is attached over at the front here, sometimes it can get really unsightly, covering the important bits like GeForce blocking. It blocks the GeForce thing, it could block the logo of the company, the brand and such. So with that new thing from Inno3D that attaches to the rear, I think it's really nice. It looks very neat even from the photo, and I can imagine that. Definitely something that I appreciate. However, from what I observe, it does not it's not as simple as it is. I will put it that way. There are two cards. The first one is the eSports. It's an AX eSports. To what I remember, it's a 4070 AX eSports. Now that one has flip up what do you call back plate, I guess. The part of the back plate flips up, and then you are able to attach the cable, and it uses the 12-volt high power cable. And then there's the iChill X2, or is it 2X, that uses standard 8-pin PCIe. That one has no flip open cover, it just slide in. And from what I can understand is that this kind of cables, it does add more work when it comes to maintenance, or let's say you need to troubleshoot and remove a graphics card. That's a lot of additional work. Typically a graphics card will be as like this. Now this is using 12 pin connection, but never mind, we're just going to simulate it anyway. So typically a graphics card is connected over here, and then you can just detach easily. Alright, but when things come in at the rear, what happens is that if you put the card in first, then you have to find a way to attach the cable. Now even with the pins at the front, if it's dark, sometimes it actually can be a challenge to plug in. And if you've seen some cards like the Zotac ones where you have a deep cut in, there's a cut in, but it's actually somewhat challenging to connect the power connection even when it's right facing you. What more when it is facing the other way around? That is a challenge, especially if you have thick fingers. I don't know how you can do it. Of course it can be done. I'm just saying that there is a challenge of how you are going to. You most probably would be inserting the cable first before you place the card in. Normally I would place the card into the system first before I actually connect the power, and then align it, or align it depending on the layout of the case, of course, the grommets and the openings and such. But in this case, you have to plan ahead, place it, most likely connect it first, and then attach the graphics card, and then pull the cables around, tighten it. And that's where the other challenge comes in, because once you tighten it, if you want to remove the graphics card, do you have enough, because the cable is tightened, you actually do not have that much of a room. For example, if the cable is tightened like that, are you able to push it out sufficiently? Maybe not. So another way is just to loosen the card first and try to detach. It probably works that way. And then there are other issues. This is just a matter of maintenance. And if you are vertical aligned, it's going to be another challenge, because vertical aligned, you can just remove it like that. And when it's attached this with the card this way, I don't think the cable will be that strong to, if you don't fold it, I don't think the cable is that strong to push a card. But most likely people wouldn't want it to hang that way either, because even in vertically aligned position, if you have your cable not pulled into the underside, it's going to look unsightly when people come and view it at other angles. Of course, not everyone's going to go to your house, but when we're talking about, let's say, PCs that are on display, then perhaps so. So what happens is that even in vertical alignment, it's going to be even more challenging, in the sense that if it is tightened, it's going to be difficult for you to reach the rear of the card to detach the cable, just to remove the card. So most likely in any case, if anyone is using this kind of setup and they send to a shop, they will probably have to open the other side of the PC and loosen the cable and then remove the card and detach the power. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's fair because it's a compromise, because you are now not, you don't have unsightly cables connected this way at the top at least, but in order to make it neat, you have to put a bit of effort to get all those things in. Now the difference, there are two cards, right? The dual fan, the iChill X2 it's a slide in. It's, how is it? It does not have an opening at the underside, so it just basically goes through this part, the top part, and it goes inwards and connect to the power connector. It's still a lot neater than having something attached to the front here, which I like a lot. Now, other things that I can see potentially happening is like, okay, speaking of this, I saw this. Yes, one other point is, on the demo picture, it's using this type of cable, which is braided, is customized, you know, extensions. If you are using cables from the power supply, it could be those sleeve type, which does not have that much room for you to adjust to, how is it, to fit the space. I'll show you about the space later. And then there's this type. This is from a Silverstone power supply, of which many power supply uses this type. FSP as well. Many brands, they are using these flat type cables. I like flat type cables, so I think the flat type cables will work great for those with the you know, the one that I said, the dual fan that it goes inwards. So the flat cable will just nicely taper off at the back, this back plate, which is nice. But flat type cables would probably have issue when it comes to, you know, wrangling it around through the motherboard, because it will go through areas like this. If you look at the demo, the sample picture, that sample picture is using a ASRock B660 Steel Legend, looks like it. So this is a B550 Steel Legend, of which you can see, if the card is actually placed over here, there is a heatsink, pretty large one, that you have to try to angle it through the DIMM slots and out to this side. So in this card, it's using a single clip DIMM slot, so it's okay. But what if you have your cables here and it uses two clips? So removing the DIMM memory for whatever purpose might be a bit of a challenge. And what's more challenging is that if you are going, say, something higher end boards usually have big heat sinks. So more like big covers, it's not necessarily heatsink, like the Taichi here. If I were to actually attach a card over here, you see that there is little to no room left. I'm not sure if you can show you properly, but let's actually very little room to get the cables across, you see, because yeah, there's DIMM slots over here, and then this part is covered by a PCIe cover, and yeah, it's pretty much, you don't have actually much room to go about. And that aside, that design, if you notice, is only on a 4070, because 4070 power draw is actually not that high. I tested, it was like 200 watts ish. So with a single 8-pin, it will work, because 75 watts from the PCIe and 150 watts from the power can supply, based on PCIe standards, 225 watts. Same if you're using the 12 volt high power connection, it will work great. But here's the thing, that's pretty much the limit. If you're looking for high-end graphics card, they will, okay, high-end graphics card, probably they can use they definitely can use a 12 volt high power connection. But those that want to use two 8-pin PCIe's, that will be a problem, because like what I said, even without using this kind of board, it has room for this kind of custom sleeve or extension types. But what if you have double the number of cables, which is like 8 over here? Then you have a bit of problem on how to route it around. But that's not don't get me wrong, this video is not about bringing doom and gloom or condemning that. No, it's not at all. I just feel that it's such an interesting innovation that I feel that let's talk about it. So yeah, a vertical or horizontal orientation, not that it matters, because either way you have a bit more steps. It's a different kind of challenge. It's a little bit more steps for us to get cleaner look. I definitely like that. In fact, back when graphics cards PCBs were long, I actually like that they had power connections at the front where it's connected this way, right? Back then, to me it was nice that when the connections are at the front, what happens is that it does not block this side at all. You just pull the whole thing through the rear, settled, okay, or downwards, whichever. It's easily hidden. Unlike nowadays, because the PCBs are all short, so you have things that are stuck right somewhere at the middle. And what other way do you have to route the cables? Either through the top and pass by the memory RAM, the usual, or I personally like to get it through the bottom, you know, like through the power supply, the shroud. But shroud openings, they are not always in alignment with the connection area, so it could actually taper off to the sides, which to me is an OCD issue on my side. So yeah, basically that. Oops. Okay, nothing wrong. It's just some pins scraping the thing. Right. So that's it for this one. Do share with me your thoughts about this connection. I hope my sharing itself has bring some ideas to you as well on what's the potential. I mean, the benefits are there, right? It's just whether it's worth going through the hassle. I think it's okay actually. It just to make things neater. I foresee that, well, if it's not a trademark or copyright, whatever this kind of thing, who knows, every other brand would implement something similar for that kind of neat routing of cables. Of course, I do remember seeing those graphics card with additional connection that connects to the motherboard to draw power from the motherboard. That's one way to go about it too. Yeah, pretty much that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Do remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and bye bye. Stay curious.